Hey friends, this is Art the Mind Control Guy. I tell you what, things are getting kind of spooky out there, just as has been said for a long time coming. I was talking to one of my contacts not too long ago up in Militia, Montana, and asked Dave, I said, what's the inside scoop? And they said, from what their inside contacts were telling them, by Christmas time this year, 2021, we want to try to have complete lockdown again in the country. Some things in the grocery stores you see are there, some are starting to get a little scarce. So uh, I think that anything that you can think of, if you can get a hold of it and find it, get it. It doesn't necessarily have to be one of these. You can have your rifle of choice, your weapon of choice. And contrary to what the gun grabbing idiots want to tell you, AR does not stand for assault rifle. It stands for Armalite Rifle, the Armalite Rifle Company. But, those idiots want you to think, oh, those right wingers, those preppers, it's all about guns. In their infantile dreams. Food, water, medical supplies, hygiene stuff. You might have all the food and water in the world. You might have all the gun and ammo in the world. You might have 10 million rounds. Do you have shampoo? Do you have toothpaste? Do you have a toothbrush? Do you have a supply, a good supply of toothpaste, shampoo, conditioner, body wash, toilet paper, paper towels? For those who might have any kind of conditions or get frequent headaches. Have you gone and bought you a good supply of, say, headache pills, sleeping pills, Advil, anything, cold medicine, Band-Aids, wraps, any of that kind of stuff? Do you have a good supply of socks? Do you have thermal clothing, plenty of blankets? Do you have a good supply of firewood? Do you have, say, Coleman stoves and Coleman lanterns with gobs and gobs of fluid? Now, back in the 90s, you used to be able to go buy a can of Coleman lantern fluid for like 98 cents. I was over at Wally Mart the other day, and Rural King, 14 up to $15, and that's just here in Indiana. Imagine the taxes imagine the states where they have all these super high ultra taxes. $15 for 1 gallon of fuel. One. Wow, you thought filling up your gas tank is getting tough. What happens when the grid goes out? Whether it be something happening with the sun, or what if it happens on purpose? What if the switch is deliberately flipped? You have candles, kerosene lamps, any kind of thing where you can light the night. Like I said, a good supply of firewood. You have matches. You have lighters. Save the lint out of your dryer. I use ice cream buckets. I have for years. I get done with a gallon ice cream bucket. I get done with my dryer, the lint. I just put it out and put it in there. I've been doing it for years. Lint is a good way of doing a campfire starter. One of these days I'll do you a video. I mean, there's gobs and gobs and gobs of videos on how people start a campfire. Some people do it with magnifying glass. Sorry. Some people do the various ways of rubbing two sticks together and all that kind of stuff. If you don't have nothing, yeah, you need to know those skills. But if you have it, you can go get basically a brick of matches, about like yay long, that tall, about this wide. It's got like 50 books of matches in it, and each match book has like 50 matches. Long stem lighters like campfire lighters. You got some out there that are $3 and $4 a piece. I checked a while back. It's still the same price that I was paying years ago. You get less expensive ones, 88 cents a piece. You might want to have a few dozen or maybe a few hundred of those things. Stick matches, regular matches, a supply of like old newspaper. If you're around pine trees, save those pine needles, put them in a bag, put them in a box, let them get dry. Have a good supply of that. Sawdust, for those of you who cut wood with a chainsaw or a regular saw, save your sawdust. 55-gallon drum, 30-gallon drum, Rubbermaid tub, whatever. Save your sawdust. It's going to come in handy. Like you have a regular stick, various people have their ways of making campfire sticks. A dude I met years ago who, like me, was a mind control survivor. He was a survivor of MK Ultra. Well, at one time, he was a survival instructor for the Air Force many years ago. And a man showed him a technique how to basically puncture a pine tree and drain the sap out of it, because they said it's pretty flammable. I'd prefer not to do that if I didn't have to. There's other kind of sticky substances you can use. Now, different saws make different type of sawdust. Chainsaws, they make some good sawdust. Different kind than with a regular skill saw or something. Say collector sawdust, the sawdust you have from the chainsaw and others, save it. I'll tell you why. If you have a big pile like that on your workbench or a table, whatever you choose to use, you have you a stick about yay round, whatever size you choose, small, big around your finger, about yay long. Put some maple syrup there, very sticky. Roll your stick in that maple syrup, then roll it in your sawdust. Shavings for, like, kids have pets, rabbits, guinea pigs, little critters like that, hamsters, rats, mice, they have that bedding, which is basically, sawdust of one kind or another. Probably came from a chainsaw. And that kind of bedding, especially the kind of bedding which is like cedar, where I've discovered by accident, I was having a campfire out in my backyard, fire was getting low. There was nothing but embers there, so I grabbed a handful of this bedding and I threw it in there, and it went, it really flared up, and I'm like, wow, that's cool. So I got to thinking, okay, your fire starts to go down. You throw just a bunch of wood on there, you might go ahead and smother your fire. Small sticks, maybe some pine needles, and then throw some of that bedding in there. Flares up, lights everything. You got to do it a couple times. Throw you a few more small sticks, twigs, and whatnot. Your fire will get back up there. But that's another way of doing it. Take your stick, roll it in maple syrup or something. Then roll your maple syrup in that sawdust. And then after that, do it a few more times. Just keep doing it. Then what I do is, any of you that go to stores, whatnot, they wrap the pallets up with these big old things of plastic wrap. When they're done, the cardboard tube is about this big and can be anywhere from this long to about this long. And what I do with my campfire starters when I get done is I put it inside a piece of newspaper, like a sheet, and I fold it up like a burrito, and I stuff it in there, stuff it in the cardboard tube. And I take masking tape and I tape off both ends. Now, regardless of what your contents is in there, whether you have your, your lint, you have small twigs, you can have your pine needles, shavings, various things. If you do your stick like I just got done telling you, put it in, wrap it in paper, put it in there, mask it off. Now you can take your campfire starter anywhere in the trunk of your car, under the seat of your truck, in your backpack, whatever, and you don't have to worry about the contents spill out and getting all over everything. What I used to do is after I did this, and then I took a book of matches and I taped it to the side. Therefore, you don't have to worry about now you got to find a way to start it because you got it all self-contained. Simple things like this. If the power goes out, whether it be naturally or human-made, flip the switch and the grid goes out. There's always tests going on. You never know when society is being tested. Like a number of years ago, down in Georgia, I think it was, were the EBT cards. All of a sudden there was nothing, couldn't get anything off it. And people was going ape about it. Who's going to pay for my 15 kids? Who's going to support all my kids? Sorry, Mom and Pops, you should have thought about that before you started having kids. If you can't feed them, don't breed them. You know, and there was another one that went on where all of a sudden it was no limit on your card. Word went out like wildfire on social media. Rapid fire. People were swarming to these stores, filling anything and everything in their carts. Just throwing all kinds of stuff, no limits on your cards. That lasted for an hour or two. Next thing you know, boom, the limits came back up. People abandoned their carts and walked off. They had every intention, people in mass, not one or two, hundreds and hundreds, thousands of these people with the freeloader mindset had every intention of stealing as much as they could from the stores and then using that glitch as an excuse. When the glitch was over and the numbers came back up, people abandoned their carts. And at least one person, probably more, but the video I saw, somebody was walking around with their camera phone, like the one I'm talking on, and they videoed inside. It looked like a damn store was hit by a hurricane. It was like a Walmart. He said it looked like it was hit by a hurricane, a tornado. It was a disaster zone. That's the mentality of the freeloaders. That's the mentality of freeloaders. And for those who are not putting food away, water, all kinds of supplies, everything you can think of, even all the way down to the last diaper pin, lady supplies, towels, footwear, socks, clothes, warm weather, cold weather, gloves, insulated and otherwise. You don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen. A lot of movies and books have been written for years. I have made videos. They don't get a whole lot of views. I'm obviously unimportant. People don't want to listen to me. That's fine. But these books and videos that I've showed people, in the pages of these books, it tells you, it gives, so-called fictional scenarios of what very well could be possibly coming down the line. And if you're not ready, what we saw back in 2020 of people panic buying, endless stores empty, couldn't get stuff on the shelves, and now you can't get lazy people who want to go to work. They'd rather stay home and freeload. What are they going to do when Uncle Sugar cuts off their unemployment? You see billboards here in Indiana, warehouses hired $22 an hour. Where were those jobs when I got out of the service in 1987? Not $4.50 an hour, $5 an hour. That's about all I could get. Places didn't want to pay nothing. And now you can't pay people to come to work. And what's going to happen, because right now they got stores that they can't get certain things. Certain factories can't produce because the employees won't show up. Anyway, we've all known it's coming. It's been coming for years. The only thing we don't know is the date. There's a lot of signs. The pandemic thing has been tried. And I think it's all been one giant test. Well, people are sick of it. People are sick and tired of masks. People are sick and tired of having to get the shot. I can't say the word, or YouTube will delete my video like they did here a while back because of this bug that's going around. I can't even say it. I gotta say it like that. A bug that's going around the world, and they insist on you getting a shot or it's going to cost you your job and all this kind of stuff. Like I said before, my sister-in-law, she got the shot. 2 days later, she was dead. She had custody of her grandkids. And now the boy's step-grandfather, now it's his ball game. Forcing people to get this, forcing people to get that. Like out in California, that communist son of a bitch, what was his name, Gavin Newsom, outlawing gasoline motors, gasoline engines of all kinds, cars, trucks, chainsaws, lawnmowers, leaf blowers. What are they going to do? If you are in possession of a gasoline engine, they're going to get treated like being in possession of a pound of cocaine or crystal meth and put you in prison, come in there with the troops and take everything you own, confiscate your house because you have a lawnmower that's not electric. I used to have one. As long as it was dry and the grass was about that tall, it worked. Put about that tall grass on there, maybe didn't get a chance to mow the grass for a couple weeks. All the thing did was bog down, and I have an extremely small backyard. Battery operated lawnmower, fully charged, 3 batteries fully charged. I went through all 3 batteries, and the lawn was only half mowed. Those battery operated things ain't worth a damn when they encounter resistance. They ain't worth a damn. Got a gasoline one now, worked just fine. Those battery operated cars and stuff, when they get a lot of resistance out here, wind blowing, storms and all that, what are they going to do when these things start dying on the road? You're traveling at night, you're traveling in a rainstorm, snowstorm, and all of a sudden your electric powered car goes out of juice. Should have had a full charge. You might have had a full charge. It should have been able to get there no problem, but it encountered resistance. Look what happens. They had the answer years ago. A guy named Stan Myers developed a water engine. He put it in a dune buggy. You can watch the video today. Him and a guy named Dennis Lee, who I used to work for years ago, when I come home from the service. My dad and my brother, we worked for Dennis Lee. And that's a whole nother ball game that I want to get into. But Dennis got a hold, or Stan got a hold of Dennis, I'm not sure who got a hold of who, showed him what he had. They did a trip from California to Washington. Not Washington, New York. California to New York in this dune buggy. I think 24 or 28 gallons of water in the fuel tank is all it took. The powers that be had him killed, had a military colonel poison the man. Now I've heard all the BS stories of people say, well, it didn't work. Yeah, it did. It worked too damn good. Now the stupid asses, if they had any kind of brains, the people that put the military up to killing this guy would have said, Mr. Myers, how would you like to come work for us? Things are going to get tough here in the future. We need someone who knows this system. You invented it, you created it, it's your baby. We're going to have a new wing that's going to be new research and development, and you're going to be in charge. The big boys, they got bucks. What do you think if he said, Mr. Meyer, how would you like to come work for us? We'll give you a $50 million sign-on bonus, and you're in charge. You develop everything you can, because in the future, we're going to need this. If they were smart, they could have got ahead of the game. They didn't have to murder the man, because all their so-called experts were too busy trying to steal other people's inventions and creations and claim it for themselves, or had it suppressed. If they had any kind of brains, they wouldn't have squashed the water engine. But they're not that damn bright. They're like a crook who wants to go out and rob a liquor store. All they see is quick cash. Like the sheriff's department that raided Dennis Lee's lab back in 1988. Those SOBs, all they saw was quick cash. They all got between $100,000 and $200,000 bribe. And then it was all over. The guy at California Edison, the CEO that paid them the bribe, mysteriously turned up dead before Dennis Lee's lawyer could get that SOB on the stand and grill him about how did all this money from California Edison's accounts wind up in the bank accounts of the sheriff's, district attorney, and judge, who was all in on it, was all in on the raid. How did this money from Cal Edison get into these guys' bank accounts? And the CEO mysteriously turned up dead before that could happen. And that deputy sheriff, SOB, traveled all over the country threatening everybody who was involved. That's a long-winded story. But on one of Dennis Lee's videos on YouTube right now, it's like 3 hours long. Towards the end, he tells a story about what happened. And his chief researcher was my father. And the sheriff deputy, McDowell was his name. He's retired now, third highest payee in Ventura County. Third highest paid retiree in Ventura County. Dad went into hiding because that son of a bitch, I'm getting a little colorful now, told Dad, if you show up and testify, we'll kill you, you'll kill your wife. There's the address of your 3 sons, and they'll be dead by the time you get off the witness stand. Dennis, the chief researcher, that was my dad. I was one of the 3 people. I was one of the 3 sons that Deputy Sheriff McDowell threatened to have murdered if my father testified to the felonies that the Ventura County deputy sheriffs were committing during the raid. Yeah. This actually happened. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. I wouldn't be surprised if they came, paid me a visit, and I don't really care. They terrorized my father for decades. All because they take big bribes. Well, the first Gulf War and all this oil problem and stuff, I lay that at the doorstep of the then Deputy Sheriff McDowell and District Attorney Bradbury. All this stuff can be laid at their doorstep. If we would have had people with integrity in law enforcement and judicial system in Ventura County, California at that time, we wouldn't have high gas prices today. We wouldn't have all this electrical problem today. They had the answer back then. And those sons of bitches took big bribes to squash it. They had the answer. those bastards were just like a bunch of thugs trying to get some quick cash and rob a liquor store. They couldn't see the big picture. Hey, why rob the liquor store? Why not take some business classes and own your own liquor store, and then you're doing good. You haven't committed a crime. Not those bastards. And the CEO of Edison, hell, they could have went and, been very nice. Mr. Lee, we like what you're doing. You know what? That's what we need. How'd you like to come work for us? How would all you folks like to come work for us? We're going to solve the world's crisis. But no, they didn't do that. They paid a bunch of crooked cops, and I'm not saying all cops are crooked. I'm saying those bastards that did it were crooked. Those guys, the DEA, district attorney, and at least one judge. And the one judge that wouldn't go along with it, they got him thrown off the bench. Reduced to private practice. McDowell was in court screaming at the court reporter, if you print one more word of this, I'm gonna. And was allowed to get away with it all. He was a sergeant when that happened and retired assistant sheriff. Third highest paid retiree in Ventura County. That crooked SOB never got his. Mike Bradbury, that loved to put people in prison, he got his. Karma got him. He loved to put people in prison. Make stuff up to get people put in prison. Make stuff up. Bought and paid for witnesses, bought and paid for evidence. He ended up with something like Lou Gehrig's. All that bribe money he got, ended up with a ranch in Montana. He got some disease. His mind's all there. He got a body that don't work. Can't wipe his ass. Can't wipe his ass. But his mind's all there. He's a prisoner of his own body. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. I hope the son of a bitch lives till he's 500 years old, minimum, in that condition. How many thousands of lives that bastard destroyed. Now he got his. But McDowell never did. They might come after me now. I don't care. Come get some, bro. This is Indiana. This ain't California. We're allowed self-defense out here. Take care. Take care, people.